Hello everyone, welcome to another list review for our upcoming game. It is Cities of Sigmar against Flesh Eater Courts, and as you can see, it's very dwarf heavy. I have a few humans in there, but they're converted into dwarves naturally, because I only want dwarves in my army. And this is the fourth game, I think, for my Cities army. I brought them to the tournament yesterday, 3-game tournament, and it went well. I went 2-1, and I played exactly this list, and it's a very nice list. It's insanely tanky. What I got in my list is that I have the General's Regiment, which is a Field Marshal, the human guy, and it's only because I can take a Warhulk as a secondary hero in there for a Field Sergeant to give all my dwarves an extra move, an extra 2-inch move, and that is very nice throughout the game. And they also have 2 cannons in there, and they are just really nicely pointed, honestly. When he shoots something and it's +1 to hit, and they shooting, they can do a lot of damage. So in the tournament yesterday, my first game, they did so much damage, and then my other 2 games, they were mostly tied up. They didn't do as much, especially not in the third one, because they were tied up forever. So they are a bit weak against stuff that teleports, but other than that, super solid, just throws damage out there, basically. And then I have the Field Marshals +3 to control score every human, so if they're sitting on an objective, they actually score a lot, and they are surprisingly tanky if someone goes into them. If they're fortified, it's ignoring 1 rend, and then they can have a 5-up ward with a hold the line, and 3-up save. So, I mean, they tank most things as well, actually. So I sometimes play them, baiting them on the line for people. I want people to go into them, because they're like, oh, I'm going to kill a cannon really easy. And then they don't kill it, and then my hammers are free to charge into them in my turn and just smack them. Talking about hammers, I have my Runelord here. He's carrying the Brazier Flame, that basically in the end of any turn it brings back D3 models, and it's so strong for these hammers because they're super tanky, and bringing back D3 models is just incredibly good. And then he also has Grizzled Veteran, heroic trait, so he can only be wounded on force to wound. So he's very tanky himself. Everything has 3+A, so they're just walking around super tanky. And in his regiment, there's 2 Gyrocopters and 20 hammers. And then I have another Runelord, and in his regiment, there's another 20 of hammers, and then there's 2 Ironbreakers. The 2 Ironbreaker units, they're basically there for a screen. When they do hold the line, they have 4-up ward. So also super tanky. So like in Feck now, we're gonna see how it goes, but it's there's no shooting, so everything they're swinging, if he commits into me, it's most likely gonna be -1 to hit for sure, guaranteed, because hold the line on dwarven units gives them -1 to hit. And then if I get my prayers through, which Oath and Steel, which is a Duardin prayer, they get +1 to the roll. So I most likely have like -1 to be wounded as well in my turn, and then bank on 1 priest, and then in an opponent turn I put it on the other unit, just to make the army incredibly tanky. I noticed that throughout the games in the tournament, they just take so much heat. I was playing against Morathi, and she did a lot of damage though, but she killed like 8 hammers, 7, 9, 10 hammers a swing, and then D3 comes back. So yeah, super tanky. -1 to hit, -1 to wound is incredibly strong against everything, especially if you go against a destruction army. It's just, they're not killing you basically. And the Gyrocopters, they're there for just going around the table, scoring me objectives, like reclaim the realms, take the flanks, and take the lands, stuff like that. They're super nice. They also have a little pitch shot shooting, which can do a bit of damage, and then some melee attacks, which also do D3 damage. So they're a really nice unit for sure. I think so. They're needed because the army is so slow. Or you would think so at least. It has actually, with the Field Sergeant, the dwarves have a threat range of 11 inches in my first turn, because the battle formation I'm playing is Dawnbringer Crusade. So they have 4 base. They get 2+ for the Field Sergeant, 2+ for Dawnbringer Crusade, and then 3+ from an order. So, and then they walk 4, so that's 11 inches, and then they can charge. So they're super fast actually. So you also have your opponents also have to play very defensively. In a tournament setting though, I think for sure, like in a 5-day game or like in a 2-day game with 5 games, I'm not sure you will do 5-0, probably not, because there's too many counters. But 3-2 definitely, 4-1 maybe if you're a bit lucky. With your matchups, like a lot of melee and stuff. And if, like the tournament yesterday, 2-1 I went, and it just feels really good. You're tanky, and the hammers hit so much. When they have run 1 prayer buff, they just basically kill everything they swing into. They do so much damage. I think the hardest counter to this one, like if you're going with this to a tournament, I think a shooting army is really gonna punish you, because you don't have the -1 to hit. You have the -1 to wound prayer, but no -1 to hit. The Ironbreakers don't have any ward against shooting. These guys always have 5+ ward if the hero is next to them, so they're still tanky. But yeah, I think shooting is a problem, or stuff that do a lot of mortal wounds when they impact. Like maybe ogres would be a problem as well. Other than that, I think they will stand their ground to most armies, honestly. Give them a good fight for their money, at least. I think you will struggle against any army that can move really fast across the table and teleport and like just movement shenanigans that like can outplay you, outmaneuver you. And if it's too many objectives, it's going to be very tricky. But if it's a slow army as well and a few objectives, that's right up your alley, and I think it's going to be really nice. It's a super fun army to play, so give it a try. And thanks for watching the coming battle report. And let's talk about Tom's Flesh Eater Core.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Hops and Drops TV battle report. My name's Tom, and I'm going to be bringing the Flesh Eater Courts today. It's a quite new army to me. I played them for 3 games yesterday in a 1-day tournament, and with mixed results, but it was just a big old learning experience. So I'm going to run you through the list. I've changed it a little bit since yesterday, based on some thoughts that I had. Yeah, let's kick it off from the top. So I'm playing Lords of the Manor, which is whenever I resurrect any models to my units or use an ability that brings back any models, I can bring back an additional model. So I can use that with my courtiers in my list, and I can also use that with rally in my list. Then I have 2 regiments. First regiment is my general's regiment. That's with Usharan. He's a war master, so he has to be the general. Along with Usharan, I have a Crypt Haunter courtier over here, and I have 6 Crypt Horrors. Then I also have the Terrorgeist, the non-hero Terrorgeist, in his regiment, and I have 6 Morbeg Knights. Then in my second regiment, it's led by an Abhorrent Cardinal. He has a Marrow Scroll Herald in his regiment, along with 3 more Morbeg Knights and 20 Crypt Horrors. So some thoughts around this list. But first I'll talk about heroic traits and artifacts actually. So my heroic trait and artifact, I have my Marrow Scroll Herald is a priest. He has the ability for that one. And then my Crypt Haunter Courtier has taken the one that allows him to add 3 dice to any rally rolls, which I think is really quite clutch when you're playing this kind of army. Not only does it allow you to heal Usharan or the Terrorgeist with a bunch of dice, you can also more easily bring back models to the knight units with rallies. And then if you get 1 back, you're getting 2 back. So it's really solid. The idea behind the list is, well, the first thing that I have to figure out is where my season rule goes, where my honor guard go. Because I have a lot of opportunities for that, I can give extra rend on the charge to the 6-man Morbeg Knights. I can have -1 attack with Bodyguard on Usharan with either the Crypt Haunter Courtier or the Crypt Horrors, or I can go Prized Beast on the Terrorgeist. And that's very sort of matchup dependent, I suppose. Depends if the Terrorgeist is going to be in combat and doing a lot there, or if he's just going to be sort of on the flanks. It depends on if I need the rend, and then it also depends on how much my opponent's going to be pushing into me if I want to get the minus attacks on Usharan. But it's a nice little sort of playbook, lots of opportunities, toolbox there for which one you want to take. I have, originally when I was playing Feck, I only brought the Marrow Scroll Herald. So I decided after the games yesterday that bringing one Courtier hero wasn't enough. So that's why I've put the Crypt Haunter Courtier in as well. Just because the Marrow Scroll Herald, when he dies, then you're suddenly not able to sort of bring any models back to units in your movement phase. And it's such a powerful ability to be able to spend those 2 points and get 2 models back that you want the redundancy on the 2. I also quite like the Crypt Haunter Courtier. He's got 5 attacks at Rend 2 and damage 3, and he's only 120 points. I've been thinking about him a little bit like a, I mean, you saw on the channel in the last battle report, the Maya Brutes in Cruel Boys. 2 of them for 240 points are putting out 10 Rend 2 damage 3 attacks, and that's pretty spicy. So I'm going to consider maybe just playing a couple more of them to just kind of run around on their own and make up some points. But yeah, I'm just playing one today. The way that I intend to play this list is I've got the Terrorgeist and the 3-man Morbeg Knights to take the flanks effectively, set up on the flank, and be able to go quickly without having to auto-run. Then in the center, I have the 2 6-man Knight units and the 20 Crypt Guard, and each of them are a threat in their own right. So not only do I have the threat of Usharan and the threat of the Terrorgeist, I also have 3 more threats in these units that are going to be in the center of the board. So it's a lot that the opponent has to think about, a lot the opponent has to deal with, and it's easy to resurrect models, it's easy to do a lot of damage with this. We'll see how that comes up in the game that I'm playing now, though, because I've been looking over Karl's list and it is ridiculously tanky. -1 to hit, -1 to wound, wards all over the place. So we'll see if the Flesh Eater Courts can make a dent. The biggest problem I'm going to face here, and I think it's kind of a problem with Feck in general, is that you have a lot of Rend 1 only. So as soon as you're going into these armies with 3+ saves, an all-out defense, and you're really not doing much damage. My hope for the game, I'm praying that my Crypt Guard can get in and do 81 attacks, because I think the promise of that is, yeah, really good potential. They're potentially +1 to hit, they're potentially +1 to wound, and then you've got 81 attacks on 3s and 3s, Rend 1, damage 1. So pretty nasty. I've considered, I think playing a unit of them in the General's Regiment could be quite nice, just to get the extra rend on against a unit as well. In terms of Noble Deed points, because you need a good amount of generation, I think the Priest is auto-include. I think the Cardinal, that is, he has to be in the list because he's got 10 attempts at D3 in the game, because it's in both hero phases, to give some Noble Deed points to a hero within 12, and worst case, he's giving it to himself. And then as soon as he's at 6, you can resurrect a unit, he goes back to 0, and then he can just start powering himself up again. But best case is giving it to the Courtier units, because then they, even if they've only got 2 points, are representing quite a big threat with resurrecting the models. In terms of how I think this list could do at a tournament, Feck are very strong currently. I haven't played them that much, so I don't know if I'm going to be a proper representation of how strong they are. I think in the hands of a right player, someone who's got 50 games in with Flesh Eater Courts this edition, they're probably incredibly strong. But I think that this list has a good opportunity of going 4-1 in a 2-day tournament, definitely. I think it's probably quite reliably a 3-2 list. But I think there might be some armies out there that that it's going to struggle into because of that, only having that Rend 1. So we'll see how it goes today. But yeah, definitely convinced that this could do very well in a tournament setting. Yesterday I only won 1 game and lost 2, but both the games I lost were very close, so I can see the potential. for sure. We'll see how this goes. I've quite enjoyed playing Feck, so hopefully we'll be able to get them on the channel again relatively soon, because they are good fun. And I know that they're quite strong right now, but I'm still figuring out how to play them properly. So the more I get some reps in, the stronger I think I'll get with playing them. Either way, I hope you enjoy the game, and we'll see you in the battle report.